All right. So Brenna Foster, welcome to the podcast. Appreciate
Thanks for
you
having
jumping on. And yeah, absolutely. So why don't we, before we jump into it, I want to give people some context, right? So you have a great presence on YouTube. I think it's one of your primary lead generation sources.
me.
We're going to talk all about that on today's episode. Before we do that, walk us through just high level, what market are you in and how long have you been selling real estate?
So I've been selling real estate since 2020, and I'm in the Nashville area. I refer business out to all across Tennessee. So Middle Tennessee, I do East Tennessee, West Tennessee. So really, the entire Tennessee market is my market.
Yeah, I love it. So 2020, like a lot of agents, they got in during the pandemic. You know, what led you to get into this business?
Yeah, my husband is actually a transaction coordinator,
Oh,
and
cool.
I saw him see success with that. And I thought, real estate may work, for a lot of things with my personality. It would just fit a lot, and I didn't realize what the job was going to be until I started doing it, which I'm sure you hear a lot.
Yeah, I mean, it's so funny, right? I think a lot of people have this idea of what real
Mhm.
estate is until they
Yes,
get into it and find out, wow, this is a whole nother world.
completely different.
Tell us
Yes.
about that. Tell us more. What
Yeah.
did you think it was before you got into the business? And now,
Oh,
how
yeah.
do you describe it?
I thought it was looking at homes, and you would look at a few and then you would get under contract and things would go well and you close the home. And it's so much more than that. It's, connection, it's staying consistent, it's your own mindset. There's just so much more to it than just looking at pretty homes.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a lot to do with the contracts, and I enjoy every aspect of it, luckily. But I think when you first get in, you just have no idea what you're going to be thrown into.
Yeah, the way I explain it to people is what they think they're getting into, they will probably only do about 10 or
Yeah.
20% of the time. The
Hmm.
other 80% of the time has nothing to do with client work. It's all the things that realtors do behind the scenes that no one has any idea. Do you see
Absolutely.
it the same way now?
Yes. Oh, absolutely. No, I agree with that 100%. I definitely see that that's just a small portion of what you do.
Yeah,
With
they think it's the practitioner, right? Like
Yeah.
it's like any business. The person who wants to open up a bakery thinks
Hmm.
that because they're so good at baking cookies, but they find out after they open the bakery, wow, I'm only spending 10% of my time baking cookies and 90% being a business owner. So
Yes.
when you first got into real estate, you found out, wow, there's a lot more to this. Let's talk
Hmm.
about, client generation or client acquisition, which seems to be the most difficult thing for most new agents. What did you try maybe before you got into YouTube?
So I did cold calling, which I was pretty bad at, to be
Hard.
honest.
It's hard.
Um, it's hard. You got to be a certain kind of person to do it, I think, and you have to have that practice and that consistency. I think cold calling is great, though. I think it serves a lot of purposes. But Karen Carr, I don't know if you've heard her name before.
Yeah, she's
She's
great.
fantastic. I saw, some training that she's done, and she talked about YouTube and lead generation with YouTube. And I said, that's something I want to try. It just felt way more authentic to me than cold calling. It's hard to make that connection over the phone sometimes. Whereas with YouTube, they see your face and they, are able to kind of know you before they even know you.
Yeah.
So it just felt like the right thing for me at the time.
Yeah. Makes a lot of sense. And,
Yeah.
I in my experience for doing this for 20 years, you nailed it. I think both have their place. Outbound lead
Absolutely.
generation, inbound lead generation. I don't
Mhm.
believe that one is right or one is wrong, one is good and one is bad. Other than that, what fits the person's personality is the most important thing. What that person can stick to
Yeah.
consistently is the important piece. Because here's what I want to talk about. This is what I said to you before we started the show. And that
Mhm.
is a lot of people come into this business, start with outbound lead generation because the barrier to entry is very, very low. It's pretty much
Right.
free. And they're like, wow, this is super hard. Then that is what starts to put them down this path of, man, there's got to be an easier way.
Right.
YouTube, for a lot of agents, seem like the sexy, easy path of least resistance. What I wanted to
Right.
have you on the show to talk about is it isn't that way, is it? You still
Right.
have
How
to
hard it
apply, and we're going to
is.
talk about it. You
Yes.
still have to apply the same discipline, the same focus. It's still very uncomfortable getting behind that camera,
It
shooting
is.
videos consistently, all the editing, all the prep. People don't even see any of that stuff. So, coming
Yeah.
from a world where you tried outbound lead generation, knowing those difficulties, do you
Hmm.
feel a lot of those same things apply to making content and inbound lead
Absolutely.
generation?
Yes, absolutely. You nailed it on the head with the same consistency, and you put in a ton of work into YouTube. I think it's just as rewarding, and you make, I think, really great connections and even deeper connections than you may, do with cold calling. But the prep that you have to put in, the research, the editing, the filming itself, and getting uncomfortable in front of the camera, you don't are you're not naturally good in front of the camera.
The,
That's the
the
thing that
same way you're not naturally good on the phone when you start making
yeah,
outbound calls. It's the same process.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And so what's fun about attraction marketing is that people call you. That's the great thing about it. And it takes about a year until people start calling you.
Yep.
So if you can keep that grind and keep on going and that mindset that keeps you going. I had a mentor that I saw her getting the calls and I said, okay, then I can do the same thing.
Yeah.
So that's what kept me going. But I think it's different for everybody,
Yeah.
so having someone who you've seen do it and do it successfully, I think that really kept me going the most. But some people, they can just do it based off of sheer will.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just
Well,
like with
so
football.
yeah, and so we're going to unpack and get into some more details of and unpack kind of more of the strategic things in a second, which is
Mhm.
what people want to know.
Yes.
But before we do that, the thing that I believe is exactly what you said. There are when we talk about lead generation, I think a lot of people want to debate, like, oh,
Mhm.
don't do cold calling or don't do video. It takes way too long. Cold calling, that's old and outdated. Again, I am of the belief that there isn't a right or wrong. I am under the belief of putting all of those strategies together that work for
Yeah.
somebody, because to your point, what I
Mhm.
have always done and what I have coached other agents to do is, as you're building the attraction marketing piece of your business, the
Mhm.
inbound lead generation part of your business, that's when you employ outbound to keep cash flow going for that first 6 to
Mhm.
12 months. You build
Right.
business, you build your skills, you build your confidence, you understand the market. You're building really your communication stamina so that
Mhm.
when the inbound starts to work, because here's the key
Mhm.
thing, no matter if you're doing outbound or inbound, I think you would agree with this. When somebody calls you, you still need to know what to say. You still
Absolutely.
got to
Yeah.
go do a listing appointment. You still got to do a buyer consultation. It's
Yes.
not like that goes away. Can you walk us through kind of like your thoughts on that?
Yeah, and I think you nailed it on the head with that again. I mean, that's the thing is if you need that training. You need that confidence to be able to, pick up the phone and be able to call people and talk on the phone effectively. And so that's something that the cold calling did help with. But it's just in a different way.
Yeah,
So these are people that a lot of times are nurture leads. So they're calling you years ahead of actually purchasing a home.
for
Some
sure.
are 6 months, some are three, but typically they're going to be nurture leads. So you really have to know how to follow up and do that correctly. I didn't learn that until my second year, how to do that
Yeah,
effectively. And of course, I'm still learning. But that's the thing is follow up, the consistency, and then the confidence on the phone, and being
yeah.
able to do that. And that's one of those things that you just have to keep on doing it over and over and over. And trainings like this, really help as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, podcasts. And so, yeah, and I think it's important just for the audience to hear that, is that, listen, just because doing inbound attraction marketing
Mhm.
doesn't get you off the hook
Right.
to being confident and having great conversations with human beings. You still have to talk to
Yeah.
humans. Because here's what
Mhm.
they think, right? And I know you know this, but you know, they think, wow, all right, I don't want a cold call. Let me go make videos. Well,
Right.
that doesn't let you off the hook. People are still going to call you, and you still got to talk
Mhm.
to human beings.
You
And
still
oh,
gotta
by the
convert.
way,
Yeah.
you still got to follow up. You still have to go and present. You still have to earn the business. Now, to your point, an inbound lead is It's so good. It's such a different opportunity because you have built-in
Right.
authority when they're reaching out to you versus you reaching out to them. So let's get
Right.
into the tactical piece. So we talked about the mindset. Let's get into maybe some of the more tactical things.
Sure.
So in 2022, for context, like how much business have you done as a result of your work on YouTube last year?
I closed 7 deals, just based off of YouTube.
Yeah,
And of course, that's when my channel started producing is within 2022. So I'm expecting 2023 to be quite a bit more, because there's more leads coming in at this point. So they
yeah.
just started trickling in at the early parts of 2022 last year, you know?
That's awesome. Good for
Yeah.
you. So, to give context so we can understand maybe what that looks like,
Mhm.
how many views is the channel getting monthly? And then now in early 2023, how many leads does that typically produce, a week, a day, a month?
Ooh, I'd have to look at my metrics and see. I haven't looked at them in
Come
a
on.
while, honestly.
Well, that's the other thing, tracking your business, that still doesn't go away. Whether you're doing outbound or inbound, we still got to track
I
our
know.
numbers.
I know. And I used to be so much more obsessive about it. I used to be like, oh, look how much it's growing and all this.
Yeah,
And then you just kind of let it be for a little bit, and you just make the videos that your audience is going to want to see.
for
You
sure.
just get in that flow where you're like, okay, I understand what people want to see. You see recommendations in your comments. And so you stop tracking those metrics as much, at least I have. But I still get quite a few views. You also get monetized on YouTube, which is wonderful.
Yeah,
That's just extra, cash that you can put back into the business, which is nice to
yeah.
have. But I have about 5,000 subscribers right now, and then I think on my channel total I have 30,000 views
A month
total. And
or
so
total,
total,
right? Yeah,
yes,
yeah,
total. Yep. So I would probably say less than 10 grand a month, for my views. So you don't have to have this huge
no,
YouTube
you
channel
don't.
to have it. I've
Yeah,
heard of people who have 100 subscribers and they're getting leads.
yeah,
You don't have to have this big, I mean, I've 5,000 subscribers, but it took me 3 years to get there. You know what I
yep,
mean? You can just
absolutely.
start from nowhere, which is really nice. And you can get leads in, the first or second video. It's not likely, but some people have been able to do that.
Yeah. So let's talk about the way in which you are generating leads on your traffic. And
Mhm.
there's a couple ways to do this, right? So and I know you know this, there's a lot of agents out there that make content and they are more passive from the standpoint of they wait for people to click on the description, find their number, their email, and wait for those people to reach out. Then the other way to do it is by having a specific call to action, walking them
Right.
through a lead magnet and a conversion funnel. Which of
Right.
those two strategies have you found more success with?
So I put my phone number right up when I introduce myself. So that's, I think, going to be the most effective way of doing it because the phone number is right there. You can put your email address as well, but name, phone number, and then make that introduction and say, "Give me a call."
Yeah,
You have to do that in your video. It's not enough just to put it in your description. Some people don't even know how to click on a description box.
that's right. Yep.
So making it as easy as you can. Most people that watch my videos, they're in their 60s, 40s to 60s. That's most of the demographic that's watching my videos. So I have to make it easy for them to be able to contact me.
For
They're
sure.
not going to go through a link tree and go through all those steps. They're going to probably, just dial the number off of my video and that's it.
Yeah,
But I think that is a good thing to have, at least some type of sales funnel, something where they can start browsing homes from your description. If there's something where you save a download and you can have like a guide to moving to Tennessee or something like that, where they can, go in and you have a landing page and get their information.
for
That's
sure.
also been really successful as well. So I think having at least 4 or 5 different ways that you can capture that lead is going to be ideal.
Awesome. So if you would you say that the vast majority of your inbound business comes through people just directly reaching
Yeah.
out via a phone call and saying, "Hey, I've been watching your videos. We're
Mhm.
thinking about buying in Nashville," and that's kind of how the process would start. Is that the vast majority of the lead generation?
That's the vast majority is I just get a phone call directly
Yeah.
to my phone, and that's the thing is be wary of putting your cell phone out there.
I know,
you know,
right? Yeah.
I wish I would have thought about that a little bit more. But that's the thing is most people are just calling, to get information about the areas and to want to move. They also email me quite a bit. So those
Yeah.
are going to be the vast majority. But some people do go and they contact me directly from my site and they go through lead funnels and all of that as well. And you just
Yeah.
follow up through that if you have a good CRM.
Yeah. So when I'm working with an agent, one of the things that we've done, and I don't know if you've considered this to your point, is we will have them have a specific number for their YouTube channel, not their
Mhm.
personal cell phone. So now we can track to say, wow, that video or those types of videos drive a lot more engagement or a lot
Mhm.
more inbound traffic or leads than those types of videos. And we know because we can track the analytics, the analytics. But the most important piece is we have it come through on their cell phone and it says YouTube lead. And so we know that
Yeah.
that's an inbound call coming from a YouTube channel. So that is of high priority. We don't let that thing go to voicemail. And so what happens how are you doing that piece? I'm curious. Are you, because you can't be at your phone every 2 seconds. I mean, are you trying to capture them live or most of them going to voicemail?
I do capture them live most of the time. Sometimes they're calling me in the evenings and I can't, pick
Yeah,
up. But I try to at least give them a call back, within the first few minutes of them calling me. It's a different thing because they're not jumping to another realtor after they've called you. They
that's
want
right.
to talk with you and they are most interested in you. So if you call an hour after they call, they're not going to drop you immediately. You know what I mean?
For
Um,
sure. It's just a
yeah,
different you've already have built-in credibility, you already have built-in authority. There's already this sense of,
connection.
attraction to that's
Yes.
right. They want to work. You've already poured in so much value that by the time they pick up the phone, it's like there's no urgency like a for sale by owner or an expired
Yeah.
listing. Yeah.
Yeah. And so looking at it from that lens, most of the time I just see numbers pop up of California number, New York
Yeah.
number, something like that. And I know it's a lead.
Yeah.
Um, and I know to pick up, when I can and get back to them as soon as I can, if not, but I've never had a lead, jump ship or go to another
Right.
agent just because I wasn't there right on that moment,
I love
which
it.
is nice. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just it's another upside to this
Yes.
strategy. So I know kind of I asked a little bit before, but I'm if you had to guess just for the audience, because I know what they're going to say. As soon as I upload this to YouTube, they're all going to ask. But roughly, if you had to guess, are you getting a phone call a day? Are you getting 3 a week? Are you getting 10 a week? Are you getting 10 a month? Just try to get your best guess. What does that feel
Yeah.
like right now?
I would say every other day or so, I'm
It's
getting a phone call.
amazing. It's
Mhm.
amazing. Every
That's
other
why
day you wake up, it's like, Brent, I've been
Mhm.
watching you on YouTube. Give me us a call back. We're thinking about is like what walk them through what that call or that voicemail sounds like when people reach out.
Yeah, it's just like that. They say, "Hi,
The
Brenna.
best.
We've been watching you on YouTube," and sometimes I hear the video in the background, which is funny.
Yeah.
They're literally watching me in the moment, and they'll say, "I've been watching your videos for some time, and we're thinking about moving to this area, and just need your help." And that's typically when I give them a call back, and I just do that first consultation. I try to do over Zoom, which is great.
Amazing.
Yeah, and just establish that connection. If they come to town for what I call a discovery visit, I go and grab coffee with them. I don't suggest, showing homes at that point. I think you can easily become a tour guide, and
Yeah, for
that's
sure.
not what we are. So touring the town and doing all of that with someone can be great in some ways, especially if you have the time. But it quickly becomes something that is just a drain of resources and it's not effective.
Yeah.
So I grab coffee with them. I recommend neighborhoods for them to check out while they're here. I go over the areas that we've talked about, and then I let them go off and explore the areas. So that's really my process, and it's worked, quite a bit. So everyone has to establish their own process within that.
Yeah. Yeah. Are
Yeah.
you starting to generate listing business or has it all been pretty much on the buy side so far?
All been buy side so far. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
So
I'm,
let's
I'm
get go ahead. I'm
thinking
sorry.
I'm thinking listing the more videos that I do about neighborhoods, I'm
Yeah.
thinking I'll get a listing out of that here soon.
That's
Yeah.
right. That's right.
Yep.
So that's a lot of what I teach is exactly what you just said. But let's get on
Mhm.
let's get a little tactical. So here's I think one of the biggest mistakes that I see realtors that are new to YouTube making. They make videos at the wrong part of the viewer's journey. And I know
Mhm.
you know what I'm talking about. They make videos like um, you know, what to do when the buyer's requesting your earnest money deposit back. It's like
Yeah.
you're way too late to the game.
Yeah.
We've got to make videos that are at the beginning of the viewer's journey. Walk us through, what videos have worked best for you.
Yeah. thinking about what your audience is going to click on is the biggest thing.
That's right.
So, researching where you're going to live, that's huge. And so YouTube is one of those search engines. And what's great about YouTube is that when someone Googles, moving to Tennessee or something like that, YouTube will pop up, so you're also getting Google searches.
That's right.
I mean, you don't get that on TikTok or Instagram, you don't get Google searches through that. Like it's a wonderful thing to be able to do that. And you have evergreen content with it. So what I really, I lost my train of thought. What was the question again?
Well, just the type of videos that you're
Type of video.
finding,
Yeah.
because that's where agents really like. They always ask me, they're like, "Well, what type of videos should I be making?" They think they should be making videos that are close to the transaction, but they
Mhm.
shouldn't. They got to stay away from that. And we'll
Yeah.
come back to that in a second. So, what type of videos are you making that are
Yeah.
working?
Relocation, pros and cons of living in an area, those are going to be your biggest videos on your
Yeah,
channel if you're focused on relocation clients. You can focus on something that as specific as just military families in an area and still get leads off of it. You have to think about what they're searching. You have to think about keywords, the SEO part of it. And typically people aren't searching earnest money,
that's right.
tips on how to buy a home, those are great, but you have so much competition with that as well.
That's
You know what
right.
I mean? It has
And
to
they
be.
aren't
Yeah.
searching. This is
Yeah.
a huge one. What they aren't searching are these property tours. These
Yes,
agents think they have to make these huge, sexy, commercial, fancy videos. Do you find that's what you have to do? Or are you just able to make talking head videos and you just crush it on YouTube, right?
absolutely.
I
All you have
know.
to do is have your iPhone and that's it.
That's it. I
Yeah,
know. They think
that's it.
they see these bigger agents with these bigger brands, the Ryan Serhants, and like these $1 million listing video tours, and they think that's what it means to make content. We're not talking about that whatsoever. What you and I are talking about, and so the audience can understand this, is we're talking about doing some keyword research up front to
Right.
know with absolute precision
Mhm.
what the viewer wants, what they're searching for, and we show up and give them exactly what they want. And that is
Yes.
exactly the process you're going through, correct?
Yep. And you deliver value. Anything, any research and just any information, they are starting from zero pretty
That's
much. You
right.
know what I mean? They're starting from not really knowing much about the area, and anything that you can deliver, that's just going to strengthen that connection. And they're going to really, really feel that connection with you, which is nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So another part I think that agents get caught up in is like the editing, right? And so
Mhm.
again, because they think you hit it earlier, they think YouTube is this world of like famous, huge million subscriber channels. It's like that's you don't need to do any of that. You can. My
Mhm.
channel's relatively small, right? I have 65,000 subscribers, and we do I don't know 300,000 views. And in the comparing that to like some of my competitors that have 2, 3, 4, 5 million
Right.
subscribers, we do really well because you don't have to be so gimmicky. I think that the
Right.
best thing in my experience is authenticity. And
Absolutely.
because the viewer gets attracted to your personality and
Hmm.
you start attracting your tribe. So walk
Right.
us through your mindset around editing and like do you feel like it
Yeah.
needs to be all this fancy stuff or do you have to do that at all?
I mean, I've used iMovie, this entire time. So I don't have any fancy software or anything like that. You can hire editors, which is great. I have not done that yet, which my goal for 2023 is to be able to do that.
Sure.
Um, here soon. It's just handing the reins over can be hard.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, but editing, is a tough process at first because you have
Yeah.
no idea what you're doing. I looked on YouTube and I just looked up, basic editing videos, and then I was able to kind of just build on that. I think the biggest thing is not using, copywritten music. Making sure that you don't just drone on and ramble.
That's
You
right.
want people to keep that attention throughout the video. But you also don't want a ton of fast cuts, and
Right.
have that jumpy, kind of video. So there's lots of things that you get your own style as you do it more, which is nice.
Yeah. In my experience, I don't know if this is what you've experienced, Brenna, but my experience, my best videos are the ones that have the least amount of editing,
Yeah.
the lowest production value, if you will,
Mhm.
and my message was just the most passionate. It was the most
Right.
vulnerable. It was the most authentic, and it really hit with the audience. And the audience was like, "Wow, that was great." I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I made that in my iPhone in my garage." You know,
Right,
are you
right. No,
finding that to be true?
I agree. My 22 things you should know before moving to Tennessee in 2022 video, I thought was going to be a dead one. Like I was like, oh, that's, not going to attract too many views. And that is my most viewed, video on my channel.
Crazy. Yeah.
So that's the great thing is, you have your own style with it. Whatever is authentic to you is going to work best,
Yeah.
because that's the only thing that's going to keep you consistent. And so I didn't know my own style until at least a year in or so. It
Right.
took a ton of videos to do that, which is normal. I think a lot of people, they get frustrated really easily. And I did. I know I did.
Yeah.
But you
Yeah.
get there eventually.
Yeah, what I always tell my students is like the learning is in the doing. Like you're not going to find your voice on camera until like 6, 7, 8, 9 months, 10 months in the game. All those videos are going to suck. That's part of the process. Get
Yeah.
over it.
Yeah.
Embrace the suck. Right? I mean,
Embrace.
what advice would you give people in that they think that their first video doesn't matter how much prep, doesn't matter about your script. You
Mhm.
can research too. You're blue in the face. Your first 100 videos are going to just suck shit. That's just the
Yes.
reality.
And you're going to have like 4 views on it.
Yeah.
You're going to do all that work and then see no views on it. And that's part of it.
Yeah.
That's another thing is sharing your video on Facebook, sharing it on all these other platforms is not the correct thing to do as
Right.
well. Yeah, which that was a big mistake that I did in the beginning, and I wish I would have known not to do that.
It's because that's what realtors are doing to each other, and all their
Yeah.
views are other realtors. The algorithm says, "You want me to put your videos in front of realtors?" And
Mhm.
they screw it all up. But go ahead.
And you share on Facebook, and then your family clicks on because they want to see the video, and then they click off in 3 seconds, and then that tells YouTube that's a crappy video. you
That's
know.
right.
So, and when I stopped doing that, that's when I started growing. You
Yeah.
know. So that's what I would say is the big piece of advice is just keep on going, make videos. I say make 100 bad videos.
Yeah. Same
Make
thing.
a ton of them, and then you really find your style, you really find your authenticity, and then you just go from there. Like it's not a big deal for me to make a video anymore. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I think of ideas, I script them, and then the video's done. So you don't have to put in so much work and effort at some point. Like it gets better.
Absolutely. And I just relate it right back out to outbound lead generation or outbound prospecting. Your first 100 conversations, you're going to be dripping in sweat, so nervous, hives coming out of your neck. That's the same way on video. What is
Yeah.
your upload schedule? How much content are you making right now?
Yes. So I try to post once a week.
Yeah.
When I first started, I did twice a week for a little bit until that got to be too much because it's a ton of editing, it's a ton of
Yeah.
scripting. And I put so much effort into my videos. I couldn't really sustain that for very long. But I do at least once a week. I script, all my videos. I try to batch edit them. I try to batch film them. I think that's just the best because
Yeah.
you've got to follow up and you've got to do all these other things, that it's just one part of your business. It should not be what you're doing from 9 to 5,
Yeah.
the video should not be that. And that's the mistake I made in the very beginning is I just focused on the videos,
Yeah.
and then I didn't know all of this other part of the business. And
Sure.
so, getting in there and starting to do the follow up and do the things correctly, you still have to have those fundamentals.
Yeah. Yeah. So this has been great. I mean, as you look ahead in 2023, what is your goal for this year, and what other things are you doing? What other lead generation tactics are you doing to help you accomplish that goal?
Yeah, absolutely. My goal for this year is to have a referral business, and really up that.
Yeah.
So I want to be referring business to Chattanooga, Knoxville, Memphis, just other parts of, Tennessee. I would really like to heavily focus on that and then highlight those parts, as well. So actually go to the cities, tour them, and, talk about living in that city. So
Awesome.
that's my goal is to really get more of that referral business. And then just do more deals, close more,
Yeah. Yeah.
better videos, really focus on connecting with my audience, connecting with my community, and just going from there. But follow up has been one of those really, essential things that I've learned, especially this year, is you have to have some sort of schedule for follow up.
That's
Otherwise,
right.
you never do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Exactly.
that's what I'm currently doing is, having a schedule, having, a minimum calls, daily that I need to do.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that.
Yep. Yep. Exactly right. So I want to clarify one thing. The model you're going after, when you say referral business, you're talking about generating an audience in these different parts of Tennessee,
Right.
generating the lead, and then referring that out to another agent, getting a referral fee on it. So you don't even
Yep.
have to be the one showing the properties.
Yep.
So smart. So
I
smart.
know. I've done it with a few so far, and it's a great way of doing it
It,
because you
it, it is.
establish that connection first with that lead, and then you're able to, just have them go over to the other agent. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes they go with another agent, or anything like that. It needs some fine tuning, but it's a great model.
It's
Yeah.
a great model, and there's obviously challenges with that. To your point, having the right agents handle the clients and all that stuff, and the clients wanting you. No, I want you. I want you. You
I want
know,
to you. Yeah. No,
yeah.
it's that's.
So there's
I'll,
there's challenges, but it's a very scalable model. So that's kind of what
Mhm.
you're focused on for your
Yes.
future. Yeah, smart. So
Yep.
listen, I appreciate you very much. Hopefully the audience got a page and a half of notes on
Yeah.
this
Hopefully.
conversation. Yeah, I'm sure they did. But if they want to connect with you, certainly you guys watching or listening to this on the podcast, I'll put all of her contact information, her Instagram or YouTube channel.
Yes.
What is the best place, Brenna, for them to reach out if they do want to connect?
Text me, email me.
Cool.
That's best. And just, I'm a resource. I've been only doing it for 3 years, but that's really created a lot of wealth of knowledge with this. So, I'm happy to help any way that I can.
Yeah, we appreciate you and thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me on. This was fun.
Absolutely. Yeah, this was. I'll talk to you soon, Brenna.
Okay, sounds good.
All right. Bye bye.